All right, now to our first conversation. Running a business can be a daunting task with the headwinds ranging from political risk, macroeconomic developments, security, government policy. All pose risks to doing business in any country. The Allianz Risk Barometer recently released takes a look at these risks and how countries rank. To tell us more, we have Nira Adeyemi, property and casualty expert, Allianz. Great to have you on the program. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry.
Yeah, so looking at this risk barometer report, it's quite interesting. It talks about a range of risks to businesses in Nigeria. Can you tell us more about this risk?
Right. So I'll begin with the Allianz Risk Barometer. It's a report that samples respondents from about 89 countries and territories worldwide. We talk about the risks that businesses face. Respondents are across industries, customers, risk experts, insurance managers, and senior managers of the firm. Claims experts as well giving us feedback on the risk. Globally, the top risk for 2022 remains cyber incidents, followed closely by business interruption, natural catastrophe, pandemic out. Bringing that back home to Nigeria, cyber risk is top of the risk. And the second risk that experts have said that Nigeria is political risk of violence. And for the first time since 2018, that risk has come. The third risk is microeconomic development, and you know that this economic industries largely affected by GDP, affected by productivity and economic output. And basically, this is what this report presents.
All right, let's drill down now to cyber risk. Yeah, so how much of a problem, is it for Nigerian businesses, and how can they protect themselves from cyber issues?
Cyber risk, as we got into the pandemic, became a real concern for businesses globally and, of course, in Nigeria. Seems to have been a rise in malware attacks on businesses business. Of course, there are certain factors, which one of which was the pandemic, and people an increase in remote work, with people having to work outside the business environment. Of course, this of course became an opportunity for cyber criminals to attempt to attack system. This risk, of course, affects businesses, and we've seen in the last couple of years an increase in that. Now, across the globe, businesses have begun to put in security measures to ensure that to reduce that vulnerability. We've seen an increase in security patches that businesses have put in place. We've also seen an increase in multi-factor security protocols, as well as training extensively that businesses have put in to their business. We know also from reports, from what experts have said, that we expect that this incident continue as people, the knowledge of cyber risk continues to grow, as we continue to share the message on how businesses can protect them. There's also, cyber risk insurance available. A lot of businesses have also looked into that. And employment of professional risk assessors, to be able to help businesses manage their risk. All of these things are the last years to be able to ensure that we get cyber risk. And this continues as we go on.
Okay, paint a picture of what cost is like, for businesses to actually protect themselves from these cyber attacks.
Well, from the cost perspective, I say there make mostly two costs. There's the cost, that affects productivity and how it affects financial strength of the business, especially, during this period. And there's also the cost of security outfit, multi-factor authentication, for example, and don't come free. And these security parties, a lot of them come with cost. There's also the cost of the kind of service that are given. So an example is a lot of businesses would generally just reduce the, how will I put it, the feel of how a customer uses the system. So, for example, what some people call UI UX. They sacrifice, UI UX for security, and the system become a lot more rigid because of this security threats. Also, in the last couple of months, we've also seen an increased expense on the lines of the business in purchasing security solutions to mitigate the effects of this cyber threats. And so this cost, largely will affect the businesses who already are taking a hit, from the pandemic. Don't forget that the pandemic is also a driving factor in this cyber risk, and most businesses and people now have to work remote. These affect, of course, production lines. They affect raw materials moving to additional cost, to the business as it is. And, putting this cost back to the business at the end of the year or end of the financial period, we find that there's a huge cost, to the business. Globally, there's been over $1.1 billion spent on increased security because of cyber risk in the last year. And this cost will continue to grow from what the experts told.
All right, so, we've talked about political risk and violence, macroeconomic developments, top three Nigerian business risk in 2022. So I'm wondering, how can a business, navigate these particular headwinds?
Right. So first of all, we've talked about the drivers of political risk being mostly macroeconomic. Of course, businesses, we always say that when we talk about risk, one thing you must do is plan. Even though you may not be able to predict when you have this event, you must plan. We've seen an increase in businesses and improvement in their business continuity plan. Now, in the past, business continuity plans or business continuity management used to be for in the event of catastrophes or large events. But we've now seen increasingly that businesses have begun to incorporate crisis management, especially because of political risk and violence in their business. Of course, this means that the business continuity plan must be willing to adapt, to the current problem. What we also know is that businesses now take care of their people, which is the biggest result of any business, from training to ensuring safety to ensuring that staff and people who work in the organization understand what needs to be done in the event of any of these risks. There are also special insurance coverages that are created to cover political risk and violence. We understand that these policies, of course, would focus on political risk events that this risk specializes. We know that also strike riot and civil promotion, civil unrest are extensions on this point. And a lot of Allianz companies in different OEs across the world offer this coverage. Also, again, as we talk about planning, there are professional crisis management that businesses have now begun to hire and speak to on how to survive when there is a political risk of violence in the event of violence as it affects their business. There's also the risk associated with retail business. The last couple of years, we've seen that retail businesses are one of the most key when there's a political risk of violence. Businesses have now begun to put in measures to ensure to reduce their exposure, in terms of...
Especially with looting. If you remember the NSAS protests, the business, a lot of retail businesses suffer that.
Right. So, of course, we know that we've seen increased security in that regard. Businesses, of course, have now also understood that they must have a relationship with law enforcement agencies and the different government agencies responsible for safety and responsible for policy making, especially, when thinking about political risk and violence. Another, part of business is seriously hit when there's violence and supply chain industry. Many times when there's political risk and violence, find that businesses will be cordoned off and routes and passages will be blocked off for either for repair or to forestall the spread of violence. And so everyone who now understands this, they began to put in measures to ensure that they are protected from this system.
Right, and another big issue is, the pandemic outbreaks. This remains a major concern here with, COVID-19 variants, popping up. What should businesses do to reduce the shock of, say, another variant or another pandemic?
So interestingly, the report for 2022 shows that across the globe, people have rated pandemic as not the most biggest concern for their business, in the coming year. This means that businesses, as we speak now, have already started, have plans in place to deal with this pandemic or another pandemic. Don't forget that COVID-19 has not gone away yet. We've also just learned to manage it. Businesses just generally believe that they are adequately prepared. And this brings me back to the point I mentioned earlier, which is planning. The top of planning, we're talking about planning, we're talking about business continuity management, we're talking about security updates for businesses, we're talking about increased remote work, we're talking about the staff understanding what they need to do in the event of a pandemic. Of course, we have to commend those medical field for the advances in science and how they've been able to come up with solutions for the COVID-19 pandemic. So there's increasing trust, increased belief that should there be another pandemic, businesses are well prepared to deal. That does not mean that businesses should not do what they have to do to protect themselves, to protect their businesses, and to ensure that businesses should not close in the event of another pandemic. But we'll continue again to come up with solutions. There's so many of those questions we have in the Allianz risk Barometer 2022, and the resources available to everyone to read through and see how to manage them.
And, most of this risks, they lead to business interruptions. Take, for instance, a business activity is interrupted now. How does a company bounce back from that?
So, companies need to update their response to manage that. It is very important in this time. It's a risk management framework is trusted worldwide. And basically, it looks at what you need to do before these incidents occur and how you can manage these incidents after they happen. Now, I talked earlier about insurance coverages, that can help you for business interruption, for example, where you can get compensated should your business premises to dump.
Talking about insurance. Talking about insurance, imagine a situation where there are too many claims. How do the insurance companies actually manage that?
Well, we consider catastrophic losses a catastrophic event or large-scale event. The idea is that you there are people we call insurers, which are insurance companies that will carry some of the risk that goes to the insurers. We also have the opportunity to spread your risk either across insurance companies in the same plan, or you take the risk out to spread it. There's several risk management efforts that insurance companies, already have in place to manage incidences of, large-scale losses. We've seen some large-scale losses brought about by hurricanes. We've seen some by floods and tsunamis, and the insurance companies often always have a way to manage. Although in some situations, the government would have to step in, to manage some of these losses should they get to them. But largely, the insurance companies have mechanisms in place, to manage large-scale losses, catastrophic losses, a lot of them. And also with the terrorism extension of certain policies, like the business interruption policies, to strike right and civil promotion policies, also their network insurance companies can manage this. Of course, when we're talking about risk, don't expect that all of these risks will be the same. So, except for large scale protests or violence, we do expect that the entire region, entire country, it's not an impossibility. It's just that it's not expected that at the same time the entire region would have large scale violence, that will affect the insurance companies or the risk preferences in place to manage. So I think that can be right over.
All right, talking about natural catastrophes and climate change, we also have, it points to the issue of ESG, let's talk about making businesses weatherproof at this point.
So climate change remains a big concern. Businesses have identified that in the last few years. There's been concerted effort to get everybody on board to understand how they contribute to climate change and what they can do to improve, the future of our planet. Businesses already understand also that those who do carbon emissions need to reduce or eliminate their emissions. Businesses have started doing environmental friendly business practice. Also we understand that climate change affects certain industries much more than it affects some industries. We understand, supply chain industry already understand how it affects them. The food industry understands how climate change affects them. And we think that even though their insurance coverage, business practices in terms of lifestyle changes, in terms of machinery use, begin to improve to accommodate the changes that
All right.
we want to see in climate change. And
Okay.
businesses continue to do stuff to ensure that they're in good steps to every climate industry.
All right, Nero Adeyemi, thank you so much for coming on the program. Property and casualty expert at Allianz. Thank you for breaking down the report to us.
Thank you very much.
All right, so after the break, commodities market update is next. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning.